Hello again, everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 of the Roundup with me, Travis Big League Berardi, now sponsored by Spherion Mid Ohio. Thank you to the folks at Spherion Mid Ohio for becoming the show sponsor right here every week of the regular season and hopefully for the years to come as well. On today's show, we have last week's chart topper, our greatest hits winner. Thanks to you guys for voting out there. We had a lot of votes that came in. We will also have this week's week number 2 nominees. Brian Skowronski will be here with another edition of the Diamond Cuts. We will have our Talk of the Town, our shoutouts segment as well, brought to you by Plymale Insurance. And then we'll have a look at what we have coming up at the OH Report this week, baseball and softball-wise. But first, let's take a look at our highlighted conference for this week, and that is the Firelands Conference, our friends up in the northern part of our coverage area. We'll take a look at baseball and softball scores and standings. So let's start with the baseball side of things and the Firelands scores from the past week and a half. And let's start on the 8th. We had a couple non-conference matchups. Mapleton knocking off Norwayne 6-5. Western Reserve also with a 1-run victory. They split their doubleheader, but they did get a victory 2-1 over the Bucks of Buckeye Central. And then the last couple of days, we got back into the conference race. The weather has been beautiful since our last episode, and I think it was the last day it actually rained and stormed, so we've had a lot of baseball and softball played, so Mother Nature actually giving us a little bit of a break to allow us to get all these games in. But Crestview, the Cougars, a big win over Western Reserve 14-1. St. Paul winners over New London 7-1. Plymouth, the Big Red, with a big victory over the Trojans of South Central 16-1. And then Mapleton coming off that win over Norwayne, they knocked off Monroeville. They blanked them 10-0. And speaking of 10-0, Crestview completed the sweep over Western Reserve 10-0. St. Paul, a big win over New London. Mapleton completed their sweep as well. And South Central getting the split over Plymouth 9-5. As we take a look now at the standings for the Firelands Conference and the Crestview Cougars sitting at 4-2, 4-0 in the conference. Mapleton 2-1 with South Central, both of them with 3 losses overall. New London 2-2, St. Paul, Western Reserve also 2-2. Plymouth with a victory, they're 1-3. Monroeville yet to get on the board, they are 0-4. Those are your rankings through the first 2 sets of series. Still have about 3 or 4 weeks left in the regular season. A lot can still happen. Everybody's still in it, even in Monroeville, only 4 games back. Now let's take a look at the softball scores from the past week and a half. Mapleton knocking off Lady Lex 7-6 in their non-conference matchup. And then Plymouth, a big win over Colonel Crawford at the MVD. Both of those teams playing in the MVD last weekend, both picking up big wins. Plymouth actually almost pulled off their bracket victory, but they lost to Clear Fork in the final game. Now to some conference scores. Crestview, the Lady Cougars, always looking to be at the top of the conference, knocked off Western Reserve 5-1. Monroeville, another team, perennial power in D4 in the Firelands Conference, 11-6 over Mapleton. New London, a big win over St. Paul. And Plymouth with the victory over South Central 6-0. And then yesterday, we had Crestview with a 10-run victory over Western Reserve. Monroeville 10-9, just squeaked one out over Mapleton to get the sweep. South Central 6-5 winners over the Plymouth Lady Red. And New London 13-0 over the St. Paul Flyers. As we take a look at the standings now for the softball squads. Monroeville 10-3. They have 13 games in. They have to be the team with the most games played thus far in the season, 4-0 in the conference. But then you have 3 teams with 1 loss, Plymouth, Crestview, and South Central, 3-1, 3-1, and 2-1. New London behind by 2 games at 2-2. St. Paul 1-3. Mapleton 0-3. Western Reserve 0-4. Mapleton and South Central, they were unable to play 1 game on the baseball and softball sides. That's why they have a 1 less game played in the conference standings, but still a lot to be played. Can't wait for that Monroeville-Crestview matchup coming up here in a couple of weeks, as well as Plymouth. Those top 3 teams still have to play each other, and that could really shake things up in the Firelands Conference. So a lot to be played for still here in baseball and softball in the Firelands. It's that time in the show where I welcome in OH Report, CEO, General Manager, everything that you could say about the OH Report comes from this guy, and it is Brian Skowronski, looking like a general manager here with a nice
massager too. I'm making sure that your left arm's not tightening up midway through the show. You're gonna be ready to get back out there, baby.
I throw with my right, but I appreciate the effort anyway. Brian's here for another edition of our Diamond Cuts, and we had some good plays over the past week.
Oh yeah, every week here in North Central Ohio, there's some great baseball, even equivalent softball out here. Lots of great defensive efforts and gems, and we package them all up for you and present them to you right now in the latest edition of Diamond Cuts.
Roll it.
Here they come, the best defensive plays caught by our cameras from this past week. And let's start with the short bunt on play number 1. Clearfork can't get there in time, but Garrett's throw from his knees, just 2 hotes for the Galleon runner to handle. Called out at first. One more look here on the layout, and then the missile that's going to find its coordinates over at first. Next up, it's Big Walnuts. Ethan Clausen mistiming the catch. Do you realize what you've done? The ball is back that way, but he totally redeems himself with the gun down at home plate. What a throw to get the out. Colonel Crawford on the road at Delaware Christian. Slap hit's going to beat the third baseman, but oh no, not Micah Thomas. The grab and go to end the inning, and he continues the momentum straight into the dugout as that would end the frame. But how about a double dose of fun over in Ashland, because Chandler likes the ball. Gets the lead runner at first, plus the stretch and scoop as Clearfork ends the inning there. And if Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers, well then so can Colonel Crawford in a mid-game round of hot potato, throwing out the carry runner at second to claim the top spot in the Northern 10. Massive victory here as the Eagles fly 13-2, all hopped up on some pickle juice. Back to Heisey Park we go, and Galleon's Alan Carver trying to protect his right field grass, and he's going to protect every last blade. Dive and grab a play so nice, we got to cook it up twice, just like a filled baked potato, and Alan Carver gobbles these things up just like an appetizer. What a catch, and lets him know that hit just too small out here in right field for my liking. Good stuff right there.
You think you can still extend out to make a catch like that?
Who, me? I never could. So Carver, a much better fielder than I could ever be. But man, what a collection of plays, and a couple tongue twisters in there, actually literally, with the Lady Eagles.
Oh, you could say he carved out right field.
Did indeed.
I had to get that in. But thank you, Mr. Skowronski. We will see you next week.
I'll be back.
It's now that time in the show for our chart topper from week number 1's Big League's Greatest Hits. And I want to thank you, the fans out there, for listening in on our radio dial and getting out a lot of votes. And let's unveil now our chart topper from week number 1. And the winner is Addison MICKLEY from Danville with this huge home run to left field. Topping the charts with this greatest hit, it helped Danville remain unbeaten as the Lady Devils off to a great start this season. Now it's that time of the show, folks. You always listen to Rick D's in the Weekly Top 40 on the radio. Well, here we have Big League's Weekly Top 40, well, minus 35 or so. But anyway, here are the Week 2 nominees for Big League's Greatest Hits. Our first hit comes from the Proclaimers and their hit, If I Could Walk 500 Miles. But Colonel Crawford's AUBREY ZIZZO putting her twist to it, singing, If I Could Sprint Around 3 Bases. That's a triple and a well-deserved breather afterwards, as well as a pat on the back from Coach as the Lady Eagles stay unbeaten in league play. Hit number 2 comes from Heisey Park as Clearfork's KAIDEN Riddle's clutch 9th inning 2 RBI single had his teammates on base singing, Take Me Home, Country Roads. Colts picked up the 3-1 victory thanks to that big hit. Now there have been some great duos in the past, Captain and Tennille, Sonny and Cher, Berardi and Jardy, but this Hillsdale duo of Morgan and Huber continues to put out smash hit after smash hit as the Lady Falcons continue to climb the charts in Division 3, knocking off teams ahead of them a division in Division 2 like Ontario and Talmadge, as well as D3 Colonel Crawford along the way as the Lady Falcons continue to soar. Now to the land of Mr. 600, where Jacob Lucius had the baseball singing, "I wanna fly like an eagle." As Colonel Crawford remained unbeaten, Lucius and company dishing out hit after hit so far this season. That helped the Eagles to a 14-0 win over Delaware Christian to give head coach Dan Gorbett win number 600. And once again, congratulations, Dan, from all of us here at the OH Report. Our final hit comes from a Lady Warrior that was a part of a trio last week, but she's like, nah, I'm deciding to take on a solo career. It's Ontario's KYLIE Snow with the dinger to right field as we round out our greatest hits nominees for week number 2. And all you cool cats and kittens out there, do the same thing like you did in week 1. Get your votes out, put them in the comments section. You have until Tuesday at 8 o'clock to get those votes in. And on the next episode, episode 3, we will have our winner right here on the Roundup. It is time for my favorite segment here in the show, the shout out portion. Our talk of the town brought to you by Plymale Insurance, the best shout outs from our MVPs over the past week. So without further ado, here they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I just want to thank my whole team, honestly. The guys on the field and off the field. You know, the guys picking me up on defense. Like, if I'm not doing good, the guys on the bench, they'll pick me up, talk me through it, and then get back out on the field. That way I can keep shoving.
My mom and dad, for sure. My brother, and all my family and all my friends.
It's shout out time.
I'm just going to thank my team for being my biggest supporters and my parents and friends.
Do anybody want to shout out here after your 600th victory?
Well, you know, my wife for a lot of long hours, and you have to put up with a lot being a coach's wife, so I'd probably be number 1 on the list.
So there you have it for another episode of The Roundup with me, Big League Berardi. A lot of highlights, a lot of great plays, a lot of greatest hits. By the way, get your votes in starting, well, right now for our Week 2 winner. But before we go, let's take a look at what we have on the OH Report coming your way before we meet again for episode number 3, our schedule for baseball and softball. First, in a game that you just actually saw live and free right before we came on the air with the Roundup, East Knox at Northmore. You can watch that game in its entirety anytime you want on our Facebook and YouTube channels. Now moving to Friday, a big one at Clear Fork Crestview at the top of the Firelands Conference, taking on a Clear Fork squad that's at the top of the MOAC. I'm going to be down there, Adam and Hayden as well, our production crew. That should be a very good game down in the Clear Fork Valley. Saturday, 2 more great games. I will be at Hillsdale. They're going to take on Division I Power Perry, a big test for the Lady Falcons. Can they get it done? Well, we'll find out in a highlight on Saturday afternoon. And Hayden Gray also doing a highlight. Ashland at Marion Harding, non-conference baseball coming your way from Marion. Hayden will have the highlight of that on Saturday evening. Then on Tuesday, right before we come back here for Roundup episode number 3, I will be at Tiffin Calvert, the regional champs from 1 year ago, taking on Willard, and Hayden will be at West Holmes as Ashland takes on West Holmes in OCC play. So there's your schedule for the next week right here on the OH Report, our highlights and our live streams. But that'll do it for episode number 2 of the Roundup with Big League Berardi, brought to you by Spherion Mid Ohio. I want to thank Spherion Mid Ohio as well as Plymale Insurance, our sponsors for this and every episode this year. 2 episodes down, 6 to go. Next week, we will highlight the Northern 10 Conference in our standings and scores and have everything else, our Diamond Cut, greatest hits, as well as our talk of the town and everything else. But for now, I'm out.